to. But first, if you've been watching the Great British Bake Off, you may well have been bitten by the baking bug. Now an entire festival dedicated to baking has been set up in Derbyshire. It's happening in Bakewell. Its mayor, Paul Morgans, has been helping to organise the town's first baking festival. He's with me in the studio this morning. You're going to make everyone very, very hungry this morning. I was asking the question earlier, is it too early for cake? And probably not, really, is it? Let's be honest, it's never too early for cake. But it's not just cakes, is it? You can get healthy stuff as well.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I think baking, it can be very, very healthy, especially if you make it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So go on then. Where did this idea come from? What's the inspiration?
The inspiration for it is about 18 months or so ago. I was in... we were in Hay-on-Wye. I've always liked the book festival there, and the Porter's Pilot came around, and they needed...
This is the Mary Porter's idea to get people Porter's shopping again in our high streets.
And so I thought, as a way of promoting Bakewell, we've got a very good name for a baking festival, and we also have the heritage of the pudding. So it made complete sense to me to sort of try and sort of... get our name out there nationally and internationally, and have a festival devoted to the whole wonderful world of baking, not just cakes, bread, tea, that whole quintessentially English thing, which I think Bakewell is actually a very quintessentially English town, and using baking to sort of promote it sort of makes complete sense.
Bakewell equals baking. It's such an obvious idea. I'm surprised nobody's thought of it before. It sounds a cracking idea. And do you think it will bring people from far and wide? Do you think it will actually benefit Bakewell in many different ways?
Well, we've had a lot of interest from outside of the UK as well. And what we're trying to do is, this is the first one that we're setting up. We wanted to sort of grow into a much more sort of national and international event where as soon as people sort of think of baking, they think of Bakewell. And, the festival will grow on those sort of lines. And we're going to have events not around the science of baking, the history of baking. They've been baking, I think the first archaeological finds of bread was 30,000 years ago. So it's been around for sort of quite a long time. And I think it's about time we sort of promoted it a bit more.
I was saying earlier on that at Radio Derby there is, I have to say, that there is a bit of culinary talent in the sense that quite a few people from the newsroom get together, probably, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times a year and bake cakes. And we have a table of love, as we call it, in the newsroom. And last week there were just so many cakes on that table of love. It just looked incredible. And actually something like the Great British Bake Off just seems to have inspired people. It certainly inspired us a little bit here to do it, but outside as well, do you think there is that appetite for people to get back into the kitchen and do something that maybe people don't do as much anymore, compared to 30, 40 years ago?
I do think that there was almost like a lost generation with baking, and now you're seeing that a lot of young people are very, very interested in baking. They sort of want to sort of it's young parents, they're actually seeing it as a really great way of sort of growing up with their kids and showing them sort of skills. And it's almost become like a new craft in that respect. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's...
And the best bit is always licking the bowl, let's be honest. Sometimes it's actually better than what's served up when it comes out of the oven, but there you go. Actually, I have to say, if I were on death row, people often say, what would your last meal be? I wouldn't argue if my last meal had to be licking the bowl, because I have to say, even now, even though I'm old enough to know better, licking the bowl still, even as a 10-year-old child and now as a grown man, it's still fantastic. Listen, Paul, thank you for talking to us. When's it happening, by the way, very quickly?
It's the 8th and 9th of June.
Lovely. All right, we'll put that date in our diaries, and we may have to come down and sample some of those cakes as well.
You have to.
Yeah, we will do. We will do. And I won't ask you about the difference between a Bakewell pudding and a Bakewell tart.
It's a long one.
It is a long one. Let's not go there. Thank you for talking to us. Paul Morgans, who is the mayor of Bakewell, I have to say, and I'm ashamed to say this, been in Derbyshire for the last 10 years or so. And I have actually been to the Bakewell show, and yet I do not know the difference between a Bakewell pudding and a Bakewell tart. I'm hanging my head in shame. This morning, we're not done with baking just yet. We're going to be talking more about this Derbyshire Baking Festival, which is being held in Bakewell, obviously enough. Edwina Currie from Derbyshire, South Derbyshire, is going to be talking to us on the programme just before 9 this morning. I'm reliably informed by the Mayor of Bakewell, who have just spoken to, Paul Morgans. She's giving a talk on low-fat spotted dick, so she'll talk to us before 9 this morning. The mind boggles. 7:30 to 9. Let's get more then on the launch of this Derbyshire Baking Festival in the county's spiritual home of all things pudding related, Bakewell. It's been announced the Bakewell Baking Festival is going to be held in June, and you're going to get some live music, you're going to get tastings, clearly, and you're going to get some competitions. Let's talk to the queen of the dance floor, the Strictly Come Dancing dance floor. Is she the queen of the kitchen? Let's find out. Edwina Currie, is there no end to your talents? Good morning.
Good morning, Colin. Well, I did do Hell's Kitchen with Gordon
of course.
Ramsay.
Blimey.
Yes, I survived that.
You did survive that. How on earth did you survive Gordon Ramsay, though?
I was just rude back.
I can't imagine that for 1 minute, Edwina. All right, maybe I can. I think probably Gordon Ramsay might have even learnt his lesson that day. Don't be rude to Edwina Currie. So you're involved in this competition, this Bakewell Baking Festival. Are you a bit of a dab hand in the kitchen? Do you have culinary expertise when it comes to puddings and such like?
No, not at all. I mean, when Janet Reeder, who's the driving force behind all this, sent me an email saying, would you like to come along to the Bakewell Baking Festival? The thing that attracted me really was teaming up young people with older people to share cooking know-how. The idea is that the traditions of cooking with your mum or with your grandma are dying out, and as a result, lots of young people can't cook and don't eat very well. But she wanted me to sort of start cooking puddings, and I said, well, puddings aren't very healthy. And she said, oh, yes, they are. It would be fun. It would get a good healthy eating message across too if I was on stage with a chef who showed me how to make a healthy version of a treacle sponge or a spotted dick or something like that.
I was reliable.
I can't miss this up. This is what a wonderful opportunity. My goodness.
I was reliably informed earlier by the mayor of Bakewell that you might be doing a talk on low-fat spotted dick.
Yes, can you just imagine what Twitter would make of that?
Well, I mean, the mind does boggle, Edwina, I'll be entirely honest with you, but there you go. Now, you talked about growing up, and I remember making cakes with my mum and baking with my mum many, many years ago. But we don't really do it anymore, do we? And I just wonder whether everything that's happened in the last few weeks with horse meat, I wonder whether now we might just return to the kitchen and say, actually, let's get back to natural ingredients instead of pop into the shop, which actually is more expensive if you want to buy things that are ready-made. Actually, I just wonder whether we are going to be more aware of what we're putting in our food and think, actually, you know what, I'd rather do it myself.
I hope so. And in fact, when good cake or pastries are made, like in the Great British Bake Off, which everybody's been watching, it does encourage people then to go out and buy the made-up ones. Apparently, the sales of cake went shooting up last year. Everybody bought cake to watch somebody making it on the telly. We are a very inconsistent nation. But if in a sense, if we can get this organised, and I'm keen to do this, I'm going to be there on the Sunday afternoon. Learning how to make fabulous puddings, but without, lashes of cream the way Nigella makes them, but the kind that you can say, oh, I'll have some of that. Then a little bit of me would be saying, oh, good, I might really make that at home. And you're quite right, you're doing it with wholesome ingredients. I joined the WI last year for the first time up this end of the county in Chinley and Bucksworth WI, and I'm amazed how good they are. And whatever's going on, there's always cake, there's always some food appearing, and it's yummy. I put on about a stone. It's terrible. I have to say,
it's probably not going to be good for the old washboard stomach, this baking festival, but hey, we're all entitled to the odd sweet treat occasionally.
There's more than that going on. There's a Fanny and Johnny Craddock theatre piece. It's going to be a Mr. Darcy custard pie fight. Inevitably, there's going to be a tea dance. There's going to be a children's festival with Mad Hatter's Tea Party. I mean, the imagination that's going into this is just magic. Yeah,
well, stay there. Let's talk to Stacie Stewart, who was a finalist in the BBC's MasterChef. She now owns the Beehive Bakery. She's one of the headliners at the festival, no less. Hello, Stacie. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Do we need a festival like this then, do you think?
Oh, I do. I think it's really important to look back at our British heritage and our British culture and pull those recipes back and bring them back to life. I mean, kids need to know how to make a Bakewell pudding, they need to know how to make a Bakewell tart, and they need to know the difference between them, and they need to know the importance of those recipes in our history.
Do you know the difference between a Bakewell pudding and a Bakewell tart?
Yep, a Bakewell tart's got almonds in, and the Bakewell pudding is more of an eggy mixture.
You knew that, didn't you, Edwina?
I was told when I first arrived in Derbyshire many years ago, Bakewell tart was the last from Bakewell.
Absolutely. I wasn't going to say it, but you
Sorry.
can. That's fine by me. We've already
Bakewell pudding, they said to me. It's always Bakewell pudding.
We've done low-fat spotted dick. We've done Bakewell tarts. Who knows where this interview is going to go for the remaining 90 seconds before the
dear.
news? So this is happening in June, and you're going to be very much involved in this, Stacie, aren't you? Tell us what you'll be doing.
I'm going to be on stage, I'll be doing demonstrations, I'll be doing like meet and greets, talking about food history, just really getting people involved because like I said, there's not a lot of people who know the difference between a pudding and a tart, and it's really, really important that they do know. Otherwise these recipes are going to die out, and in 50 years' time people are going to be doing deconstructed Black Forest gatos and nobody's going to give, anything about a Bakewell pudding, which is very important.
Absolutely. Stacie, thank you for talking to us. Edwina as well. If the executive producer of the Great British Bake Off is listening and they're thinking if we're going to do a celebrity version of this programme, you'd be up for it?
Oh, I'm always up for things. Even if I'm muttering darkly, saying, this is not very healthy, this is not going to do my cholesterol any good. I want to do it in a healthy way and enjoy myself.
Yeah, and lick the bowl afterwards as well. I was saying earlier, it doesn't matter how old you are. Okay, when you're 10 years of age, it's probably deemed acceptable within society to lick the bowl. Maybe when you get older, it's not. But hey, it's still a lot of fun, isn't it? Fantastic.
I should take my granddaughter to do that.
Edwina, thank you for talking to us. Much appreciated. Edwina Currie, the former South Derbyshire MP. So yeah, very much a case of baking in Bakewell. Look out for that in June.